Welcome to the Thornton Review, the show designed with you in mind. If it's important to you, it's important to us. Dr. Trei McMullen was born and raised in Ohio. He joined the U.S. Army just out of high school in 2006 and served as military policeman. During his military career, he received his bachelor's degree in intelligence studies, his master's in emergency management and homeland security, and his doctorate in global security, with a published dissertation archived in the Library of Congress. He's medically retired from the Army as a counterintelligence special agent. Dr. McMullen is the founder and CEO of SYOTOS, which is a national security services company that provides services to veterans, first responders, and vulnerable communities through secure ride shares and digital safety solutions, veterans and first responder wellness platforms, and online education and workforce development. He also serves as the vice chair of the International Trade Council for the Miami Beach Chamber of Commerce, board member of the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation, board member of SAFE in the Panhandle Combating Human and Sex Trafficking, and board member of the Gulf Coast Sexual Assault Board.
All right, we're live in 3, 2.
Hi, I'm Pueschel Schneier, executive producer and manager of the Thornton Review. Thank you for tuning in. On today's show, we have Dr. Trei McMullen, founder and CEO of SYOTOS, a national security company, and he's also a candidate for Florida State House District 2. So, Dr. McMullen, Trei, it's very nice to have you on the show. Thank you for carving time out of your busy schedule to sit down and have a conversation with me. Will you please introduce yourself?
Absolutely. It's always a pleasure to be here, especially on the Thornton Review. My name is Dr. Trei McMullen. I'm running for State House Representative for District 2. I believe that it's time for a candidate that stands up and is actually of the people, we the people. This is my plan. I've already served in uniform. I've served my community by employing hundreds of Floridians multiple times. And now I want to bring all those efforts, energy right here to District 2.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So we're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll begin our discussion with Dr. McMullen of SYOTOS, and he's also, like I said, a candidate for Florida State House District 2.
Hey everybody, Dr. Trei McMullen here, running for State House Representative for District 2. I'm so excited to be here. I am so excited to get the opportunity to serve once again. I've already worn in the uniform. I've done it as an employer, employing other local Floridians here. We don't have employees, we have teammates. And that's what I'm looking for you. I want you to be my teammate. I want you to help me help this community, because I believe that we have everything that we need right here. We can protect our children, educate them, and advance them. We can fix this unemployment and underemployment issue, homelessness, mental health. We can fix these roads. We have all the minds and the brightness right here. All we have to do is come to the table. Our infrastructure problems, we can fix them. We just need to be honest. And I'm believing in you that you'll meet me at the table so we can fix these things. Vote Trei McMullen. And I look forward to serving again, because I'm never above you, never below you, always beside you.
There is no government-funded program that can guide a man's thoughts. Only God can do that. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to begin our discussion with Dr. Trei McMullen Florida State House candidate for District 2. So I want to ask you the very first question that I have is what is the spark that ignited, that made you decide to run for office?
Absolutely. So the first thing, it was kind of a phasing approach. So my daughter, April 17th last year, goes to school down in Tallahassee. They had a school shooter. She calls me and says, "Dad, there's an active shooter on campus."
Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't know that.
It really, it shook me to my core.
Sure.
As a father. This was something that, I think I had planned for it, her in high school, but I never really had planned for it, her being 2 hours away, and that happening there.
Sure.
We actively protect schools right now in the state of Florida with SYOTOS. SYOTOS stands for See You on the Other Side. This was a company that I dedicated to all my brothers and sisters that I had lost in the global fight against terrorism and those back here on opioid addiction. So protecting schools has always been something very important to me. So for my daughter to be at school and me to experience that while protecting other schools, I felt like I wasn't protecting my baby. And that made me feel pretty bad. 3 weeks after that, my son had a bomb threat at his school, a little small Christian school. And I said, "God, if you're trying to get my attention, you got it." With the knowledge, skills, and ability I have, I'm the only doctorate of global security in the state of Florida. I had to do something. And, I let a couple weeks went by and I said, "You know what? I'm going to run for office." Because I know prayers get there fast, but legislation is a great compound to come behind it.
Absolutely.
So
if we have the right people making the legislation, sure.
Absolutely. So that was my initial why. And then once I got out here and started meeting people, it just expanded. I'm a heart guy. So, hearing other people's worries, their concerns, I think most people are siloed into a circle of concerns from maybe just their friends and, the things that they watch and they review. But when you start listening to your community and you start to see all the different things that are affecting the community, it really, really will prick your heart. So, and that's why I'm here, because I want to do it for the people, because I think I could do the best job while doing that. Because I know that I will actually do it for them. I will not be bought. I will not be influenced by anyone other than my constituents, because everybody's tired of that. We need to do something for the people. And a lot of times people say, "Hey, they need to do this, they need to do that." I'm not that type of guy. I'm going to go say, "Send me. I'll do it."
Absolutely.
So that's why I'm here, and that is why I'm running, because I want to do it for the people.
Well, anybody can appreciate that story. When I asked you what the spark was, I didn't realize that there was like an actual spark.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gunshots and bomb threats. I mean, what a spark.
Absolutely.
I can't imagine how you felt. I cannot imagine, because those thoughts ran through my mind when my son was in school.
Yeah.
And then, when I knew he was going to go off to college, those thoughts were in my mind.
Yeah.
Is he going to be safe in school?
Absolutely.
And that always was a question, is because that is the number one priority.
Absolutely.
It should be the number, of any parent, of any elected official, the absolute number one priority is safety of our children, of ourselves, of our community.
Yes.
Safety first.
Period.
Always safety first.
Always.
No matter what the position is, no matter what the job, the school, the vocation, safety first. And that was always my number one priority when my son was in school.
Yes.
Above learning,
Yeah.
I want him to be safe. That's the absolute number one.
Absolutely. And I think one of the big things that affect a lot of people, and when, if you look back at all the school shootings, nobody really remembers any of the children that died. That's what really bothered me.
The parents do.
That's it.
Of course.
They're the only
and
people.
The community. And
you know what I mean? A few people remember names here and there.
But nationally, statewide, we don't know those people, so...
It became a social norm. Life just goes on.
For something like that to become a norm is just outrageous.
It is.
It's sad. It's
atrocious.
Absolutely. it's not what we want.
Absolutely not. You know, moving forward, like this is, and it's such a unique time because most parents didn't endure what their children are going through.
Yeah.
The fear of going to a place that my parents are sending me that I might potentially be killed at.
Yeah.
How can you it's really hard for people to learn in sometimes that environment.
Especially children.
Absolutely.
Their brains are like sponges. That their cerebral cortex is developing, and it develops and it processes information much differently than adults.
Absolutely.
So adults going through the same thing is going to be a lot different than children going. Now, my son, I know that my son is very resilient.
Yes.
Like things happen, like COVID happened, hurricanes happened.
Yep.
You know, but traumatic things happen. Our house flooded. He's very resilient. He processed it in a way as that's just something that happens. You got to move on.
Yeah.
I was processing it in a way like, oh my gosh, it's traumatic.
Yeah.
But he just was like, let's keep moving on.
That's
and
amazing.
and I was very proud of him for
Absolutely.
that. Didn't really understand, but people process things different, especially when you're scared.
Absolutely.
And in a position, I can't imagine what your daughter was going through.
Yeah.
But you as a parent is probably worse than what the daughter was going through is torment.
Yeah.
Because you're not there, you don't know what's going on, you don't know what's going to happen next, and it's just something that you want to avoid and protect her and just keep it from happening to begin with. And I totally understand that. So you have your services company, your security, it's a security company.
Yes,
Can you
ma'am.
explain that a little bit?
Yeah.
So you on the other side, SYOTOS?
Yeah.
SYOTOS?
So that actually started off as a term that I would say to my brothers and sisters, you know, like we'd be tagging in and out of deployments, or, you know, when you get out of the military, or just not even out yet, when you're switching duty stations. And, you know, it's like, see you on the side. I didn't want to say see you later.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It was like, see you on the other side. Like, I'll see you again. Like, we'll see each other in the combat
Like no
zone.
matter what happens.
No matter what happens, we'll see each other again. You know, sometimes people need that from the people that love them. And in that type of arena, the military, we love each other. You know what I mean? Like, and you build relationships
You're
very
bonded,
closely.
yeah.
But it comes to an abrupt end sometimes, where this person moves to a new duty station.
Right.
And, you know, sometimes the whole ready-made family gets separated because everybody goes their separate ways, and you got to restart it again and again and again. You know, and sometimes you take those few people with you and you keep in contact, but, you know, see you on the other side, it just always stuck with me. So then I tried to the first name I was going to give it, I actually spelled it out. My CPA was like, that name is too long. You need to come up with a different name that's not going to fit on the tax ID.
Yeah.
And I said, okay. So I went through and I took every initial.
Yeah.
And I was like, how about that? And he's like, what does that mean? I said, see you on the other side. He says, better.
Yeah.
So that's how, you know, I got there. I started this company back 11 years ago. Actually, I incorporated 7/11/2015. And, you know, we've had some great successes since then. We've had one of the largest federal contracts in Florida history. We employed over 130 Floridians. We've had one of the largest private contracts in the state of Florida, where we protected all the GOPs, which is where I really fell in love with the Republican Party. Before then, I was kind of apolitical.
Right.
But being able to actually go to every GOP in the state of Florida, I never witnessed such an open invitation and such sweet people. There's sweet people that run these things, you know, these polling sites. They have to love it because they're not getting paid. So they have to genuinely want better for their community and better for their state. And I saw that, and I connected to that like the military almost. And that's what really made me become a Republican back then. You know, and ever since then, I've just been, this is what makes sense to me. So.
Well, as a non-elected official, what has been your biggest accomplishment in District 2? Like, what have you done to improve your community?
Absolutely. I would say, you know, during Hurricane Michael, protecting everything from Pensacola down to Siesta Key, seeing that disaster, it was tragic. You know, hearing Floridians crying, I never heard crying like that before. And I felt terrible because, you know, it's like, imagine losing everything and it's not your fault. You know, and it was terrible. So being able to be there for them during that time, and making the choice, honestly, to hire all Floridians. I didn't do it at that time as a political stance or anything like that. I just did it because I know that in the middle of chaos, you need some type of hope. And I wanted to give people that hope. And being a small business owner, many times in the contract for all my small business owners or business owners at all, you know how it feels to be passed up for a contract by somebody that doesn't even live where you're at.
Right.
You know, somebody out of state comes in and somebody out of here. And I didn't want that.
Yeah.
You know, I thought it was our turn to be able to put us on the map. So
Right.
that's what I chose, you know, and that was great. All the GOPs, obviously we protected them all up here. That was being able to provide that security, that protection piece is so vital, especially in this political economy that we live in now. You know, a lot of hate, a lot of hatred. People are doing outlandish things, and you never want to see somebody get injured or hurt when they're volunteering.
Right.
You know, so being able to do that during COVID, I protected the majority of the mobile COVID sites right next to actually Sacred Hearts. I stood in that Publix parking lot over there, and I met so many Floridians as they would drive through. I was the security, and you know, before they go actually get swabbed, because they were able to stay in their vehicles, you know, we would ask them to show us our ID, so they would roll down the window, and I would have a little conversation with them, you know, because they would be backed up. So being over there and being able to hear, you know, all these Floridians come through and, you know, being able to hear what they wanted, just having general conversation with them, you know, this is really something that, you know, I felt that I was able to give to District 2 by providing that protection. I used everything that I could at that time to be able to do it.
Absolutely. Did you go to Panama City after Hurricane Michael?
Absolutely.
Did you happen to attend Tyndall Air Force Base at all?
Absolutely. It was a
The
short.
devastation?
It was a short.
My grandfather retired from Tyndall Air
Yeah.
Force Base as Lieutenant Colonel in the Air Force.
Thank you for his service and your
yeah.
support.
And my mother, well, my mom's family lived in Panama City
Yeah.
back in the late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah.
And then she came over here to UWF
Yeah.
to go to college, and that's where she met my dad.
Got it.
But anyway, Panama City is kind of near and dear to me because we would visit my grandparents there when I was very, very little before they
Absolutely.
moved away, and I remember my grandfather working at Tyndall Air Force Base. I had no idea what it was at the time. I was about 3 years old when I,
Yeah.
finally realized that he had a job and was working and going to
Sure.
work every day. But yeah, it was devastated. It was wiped off the face of the earth, which is very weird. I think hurricanes are getting more catastrophic inland because there are no trees. Like, we're basically clear cutting the trees. Like the hurricane that went up to North Carolina.
Yeah.
That's unheard of. For a hurricane to come through Florida and
Yeah.
keep going up through Alabama, Georgia, and then up to North Carolina
Yeah.
is unheard of, and it's because the land is clear cut. There isn't forests and trees to stop it,
Got it.
and that's just an issue. Probably don't want to get too deep into this issue, but population growth
Yeah.
is a huge issue for me because we are clear cutting. Developers are coming in, clear cutting, paving over the land with tract homes and strip malls and roads and developments, and they're destroying ecosystems and natural habitats for wildlife.
Yeah.
We're having raccoons come in trying to eat Pomeranians.
Yeah.
We're having coyotes eating the cats and chickens, and possums coming in eating up all the cat food on the back porch
Yeah.
because their homes are gone.
Yeah.
Their homes are gone.
Habitats are gone.
Where are they going to go? We have bears in every backyard in Gulf Breeze.
Yeah.
We have coyotes, raccoons, and possums, and everything else in every backyard in Cantonment and Beulah.
Yeah.
Because if you look next door, it used to be a forest. Now there's 500 homes,
Yeah.
and there's no trees.
Yeah.
And there might be a tree here and there.
Yeah.
There might be a tree that's not even indigenous to the area because
Yeah.
they clear cut it and then replanted stuff that doesn't even really grow here naturally. So, and I've had this conversation with other people, and they're like, well, you can't stop it. You're not going to stop population growth.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you can. You absolutely can. There's zoning and density rules and ordinances and whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Zoning and density.
Yep.
What used to be, and I've seen it. I grew up in Cantonment. It was very sparse. The density was very low density.
Yeah.
You could have one house per 5 acres.
Wow.
Now they've changed it. where I don't know how, I mean, you can have like 500 houses in just a few acres because
Yeah.
we were about to buy some land not far from where my parents live now to build a house.
Okay.
And behind it was this giant forest. It was off Nowak Road,
Okay.
off 97.
Okay.
Goes from 97 to Muskogee. And it was just this giant forest. I don't know how many acres.
Yeah.
But now you go there now, it's absolutely clear cut.
Yeah.
And there's 500 homes.
Yeah.
It's a tract home subdivision. I mean, they're nice homes, but they're really close together and there's no trees. And I know that there was a huge, giant ecosystem and habitat for wildlife, and it's gone. And where did the wildlife go?
Yeah.
It's not very responsible population growth. And it's also caused gridlock on the roads and highways.
Yeah. There's when these developers are building these roads, I challenge them to please make sure you're looking at the traffic. You're putting in 500 units, 200 units, and we thank you for bringing housing. But we ask you to do it to make sure that
Responsibly.
it's responsible,
You have to have green spaces for habitat.
Yes.
Like OLF8 in
Yep.
Beulah.
Oh, yeah.
I think they just need to make a forest. They just
Yeah.
need to plant a pine forest there, no development whatsoever, just have a 500-acre forest
Yeah.
and have habitat. That would be my master plan.
Yeah.
Just plant trees.
Yeah.
Let them grow.
Yeah.
And of course you have to prevent the forest fires. You have to have
course.
responsible forest growth.
Yeah.
And I understand that.
Yeah.
You don't want to have happen what happened in California where they were
Absolutely.
like, oh, we don't want to prevent forest fires. We want to just let it grow wild. And
Yeah, you don't want the underbrush. Yeah, you got to
Yeah.
take care of it.
But it's a habitat for wildlife and
They need a
our
place.
ecosystem. I mean, we need that stuff.
They're also our
There's
neighbors.
a reason it's there. Yeah. So I didn't want to get too deep into that rabbit hole.
You're fine. You're fine.
So what do you see as the biggest problem right now in District 2? I just told you mine. So what's your biggest problem? Or what have you heard from your
Yeah,
constituents? Like
I would
what is
say for my constituents, infrastructure, roads is always, this is like premier to them. We got to do better with that, and I think, DOT does a great job, but, and they have a system, a 5-year plan put in place, but this is a part of the thing that I want to do. Like, I'll bring a lot of common sense to this. We have people in this district that have worked at DOT. We have people that have worked at these jobs. They know the curriculum. They know exactly how to move things up a priority list, which people don't really understand how complex that is. So with moving something up the list, you're also taking away from another area.
Yes.
So like, hey, if this gets moves up, well, then this takes away from that area that also needs it. It's tragic. But being able to bring people to the table, we have so many smart minds and bright minds and retirees in this area that if we just brought them to the table and listened to them, be okay with not knowing it all. And it would make your community feel much more a part of the things that are happening around them. If you just brought them to the table, and not the select few, you got to bring the community. Say, hey, we got a road issue. Okay, let's sit down and let's talk about it. Don't come with questions, come with answers, come with
I
solutions.
know the Perdido area has a road issue.
Oh, yeah.
That would be a great place to have a town hall and talk about it and
Definitely.
actually get something done.
Yeah,
Because there's a lot of people who are just demanding that those roads be widened or, sidewalks,
Yeah.
bike trails, I don't know. But
Sorrento, Gulf Breeze Highway, Angel,
Gulf Beach,
like
yeah.
all those. There's so many roads, and luckily they've started. I actually went out there, and talked to the construction workers while at night, and I thanked them, and I wanted to ask them about the progress, and
Yeah.
they were
But
pretty
not-
happy to do it.
And not just for safety. I mean, safety is always the number one priority.
Yes.
That's the reason why you would do something with the roads. But there's gridlock.
Yeah.
You get somebody doing 30 miles an hour, and it's one lane,
Absolutely.
and you want to get somewhere. It's like,
Absolutely.
oh my gosh, God,
And even
please.
from a
You can't pass 'em.
national security standpoint, to have service members waiting to get inside of base, it's not a good thing. Especially a lot of people live in it won't happen here. Well, if December 6, 2019, when the attack on Pensacola Nass happened, it will happen here, and it has happened here. Don't forget, when people forget history, it's doomed to repeat it. And there's got to be gainful changes made to be able to do
And
that.
it's sad because they have to, close the base to the general public.
Yeah.
And when we used to be able to just go over there, we'd go to the light. I mean, I'm glad it was open while my son was growing up.
Yeah,
because I can't tell you how many times we went to the Naval Aviation Museum.
Yeah.
It was spectacular.
Yeah.
I mean, every time we went, it was great. And
that was
it never got old. And the lighthouse. To be at the top of the lighthouse was just so much fun with my son when he was little. And I could get really good pictures of that spiral iron staircase going up. And it's really neat.
For, obviously through my security company, SYOTOS, we actually protected the ghost hunters there one night. It was a weekend. They were doing a tour of the
ghost hunters.
Of the lighthouse.
Really?
Yes. And it was actually pretty creepy.
Yeah.
But it was that was funny. I forgot all about that. You just brought it back to my mind. Yeah, we protected the ghost hunters out there.
The lighthouse is cool because it has the little duplex where the men and their families would stay, and it's a museum. I
encourage everybody to go out there and please see it.
Yeah.
You know, it's definitely...
Can the general... It's been so long. I mean, my son's grown up. I don't really have a huge reason. I have... My grandparents are buried at Brancas.
Yes.
But can the general public still go on base?
Not right now.
Yeah, right.
They're at a level...
so you can't go to the lighthouse.
Yeah, their force protection security posture is higher, obviously, because of the war in Iran.
Yeah.
And other different things. So right now it's just elevated, so that's not allowed at this point.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's sad that traumatic things that happen just put a damper on literally the entire community because
we need to...
It's like shoplifters make prices go up, you know, because the stores have to pay for everything that's stolen.
Insurance
Got to get it some way.
You know what I mean? There was a big, there was a lot of shoplifting happening for a while there, and you know, employees were actually told not to do anything.
Right, because they don't want to get hurt. Safety, of course.
Safety issue, you know, and it's a liability issue for them.
Sure,
and
I get it.
The company's taking the insurance cost, the hit on there, which is...
But if they have a button, they can call, you know, they can call. That's, and you don't even know that they're pressing the button. They do it so discreetly, because I've seen it.
Yeah.
My husband and I were in Walmart one time, and it was near the 4th of July, and they had the 4th of July fireworks that they, you know, they're not real, they're the fireworks that they sell at Walmart.
Absolutely.
Somebody loaded her basket, just loaded it up, and turned around and walked out the door, and I didn't really think too much of it. I was like, well, maybe she already paid for it and she come over here and getting her stuff.
Of course.
Well, I didn't even think that far, you know, but I probably would. I don't know what I was thinking. I was kind of oblivious. I saw her doing it, but I was oblivious.
Yeah.
Well, my husband was like, he followed her out.
Yeah.
And he said, ma'am, you can't do that. And he said, tell the cashier. And so I told the cashier. Well, a few minutes later, you know, some men undercover, you know, I'm sure they have working there at the store showed up and went out there. And
absolutely.
I think it was too late, but I think they eventually caught her.
It's good.
But it was pretty wild to see somebody so brazenly, just right there in front of everybody, like she owned it already, and just loaded her cart and took off.
One thing I can't stand is
Couldn't
a thief.
believe it.
Can't stand
I know,
thief.
liars and thieves.
Yeah, definitely can't stand a liar, but a thief. Oof.
Yep, can't
Trust you.
There you go.
Trust
Jinx,
you.
give me a coward. So what's the very first thing you're going to do when you're elected to State House?
The first thing I plan to do is Doge everything.
Oh, thank you.
Doge
everything. We need that.
I want to know, where can we cut the fat? Where are we? Is there any gross negligence happening? Where can we make sure that taxpayers' money can be fiduciarily used in the right way?
Right.
You know, so being able to preserve their money, to give towards actual things that they want and they need. And how can we cut, you know, I'm conservative, you know, when it comes to this, you know, you have to be able to, I'm for less government, you know, so home rule, I love home rule. You know what I mean? We need the counties, we need the local areas to be able to, I think that's where decisions are best made, you know, and, you know, for me as a state representative, I'm coming in and supporting those home rules. You know what I mean? Like, hey, what do they need? What are their support? My job is to go get it. And I understand that. So going off what, you know, the people want, take that, and I go up to Tallahassee and I let that room know, hey, this is what my constituents want.
Right.
And I fight for that.
I like the fact that you're not bought.
No.
Like you're not bought by the marijuana industry.
No.
Or I think Governor DeSantis is the best governor
He's a great guy.
Florida's probably
Awesome
ever
guy.
had.
I believe
He
Through and
is
through.
amazing. He's a great guy. He's got great people in his cabinet. He's appointed great people to great things.
Yeah.
But the Doge that they did on Pensacola,
Yeah.
I think was a farce.
Okay.
Because they found two things,
Okay.
and that were explained away.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot more than two things,
Okay.
and there are tons of small examples. There's a lot of small things.
Yeah.
You know, and people
That
might
adds
say,
up.
"Oh, well, that's small. That's small. Don't worry about that. Oh, well, that's small. Don't worry about that."
Pennies
But
add
when
up.
you add them all up,
Pennies add up.
we're looking at not just Pensacola, the entire state. You're looking at billions of dollars.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you take every community,
Yeah.
which you can't do as a state house representative unless you have a legislation that requires a Doge in every community. But it adds up.
I actually
And we could reduce or eliminate our property tax if we could eliminate fraud, waste, and abuse.
Yeah.
The wasteful spending, and it's there.
Yeah.
We could eliminate that.
I've heard, it really makes me happy. I've been listening to a lot of the governor candidates, and all of them, are saying that, and it's important. So, you know what I mean?
They're saying it,
To
but
the
what are they
local
actually doing?
I know. Obviously, they gotta wait till they get elected, but.
And I want to talk more about that.
Okay.
But we have to take a commercial break.
Okay, absolutely.
And I want to remind our viewers that the Thornton Review is on the air. It's a public engagement show with a purpose to spread awareness by interviewing local elected officials, candidates, and professional leaders. This is information you won't get anywhere else. So we're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll continue our discussion with Dr. Trei McMullen, candidate for Florida State House District 2. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button right now. Be sure to like the video and hit the notification bell so you never miss a great guest. We provide this content as a public service, and it helps our channel when you like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. You can watch us at our YouTube channel, The Thornton Review, at The Thornton Review 7810, our website, thethorntonreview.com. On Vimeo, please follow The Thornton Review. Please like our Facebook page, The Thornton Review Show, on TV, WBQP Channel 12, and WBQP on Roku and Fire Stick. Company can install any type of fence. When you call and mention the Thornton Review, you'll receive a $100 discount on your fence. They also offer military discounts. Vinyl fence, wood fence, aluminum fence, chain link fence. If it has the word fence, Alpha Fence Company can do it. 850-586-8020. 850-586-8020. Welcome back. We'll continue our discussion with Dr. Trei McMullen, Florida State House candidate for District 2. So we're talking about Doge.
Yeah.
Do you have ideas on implementing it or...
Yeah. I think the first thing anybody should do, we get taught that in the military. The first thing you do is you do an inventory. Before you sign for something to take responsibility for it, you want to pull back the books and see what's there. You know what I mean? This is a big budget. You know what I mean? Like, this is a lot of money. This is taxpayers' hard-earned money. I want to see where it's going, what's been done with it, and I want to make the decisions to move forward with saving the money and saving the district money. So that way we can have money to be able to do other things that are also very important. You know what I mean? Supplying law enforcement, EMTs, fire, like we got a lot of other things. And there's a lot of funds that can't go into other things. Like it has to fit into this curriculum and it has to fit into this curriculum. But when the money's gone from that pot and we could have used it for this, but we could also use some of the money from this pot for this, like we have to be able to supplement that correctly. So see everything that for what it is, look how we can cut the fat, and then make fiscal responsibility the new You know, the new
Right.
cool thing.
Well, my idea, and this might be different than yours, I would have a team
Yeah.
of men, maybe women,
Absolutely.
in this
Definitely.
community, in this
Yeah.
area. Well, if they're,
Yeah.
I know almost a handful of men right now
Yeah.
who would be good to have on a Doge committee because they understand budgets.
Oh yeah.
And they have seen waste, fraud, and abuse. Like the one particular person who I know right now has told me that he sees it. He knows what's going on.
Yeah.
So people like that, but I wouldn't want it to just be exposed. I'm not trying to just expose people for doing fraud. I don't care about that. I want to eliminate it.
Yes. I just want to
Take it away from them.
Yes.
Whether anything happens to them legally or not, that's not me. But I want to take it away from them if they're committing fraud. I want to take it away from them, and I want to put it back in the pot to the people who are paying for their fraud.
Absolutely.
Because our taxes are going to fraud and to waste and abuse.
Don't just prove that.
Not every penny, but a lot of it.
Yeah.
And it does need to be cut. It's not fair to us because we are being taxed out of our homes. Our property taxes were raised in 3 different angles this year. Our property appraiser he reassessed every single house in Escambia County and assessed them at a higher value. So that automatically raises our taxes.
Yes.
And then the school board voted to raise our taxes, and then the county voted to raise our taxes. So we got raised 3 different angles.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's fair. It's not fair to us, especially since we know waste, fraud, and abuse is going on, because why are they raising our taxes when we know that's going on? They need to look at the budget.
Yeah.
And we need a Doge before they even think about raising our taxes.
And I think you gotta, the doging isn't about necessarily identifying anybody doing
No,
it's about.
It's not to identify anybody.
No.
It's to identify where the waste is and
Exactly.
to take it away and put it back in the pot.
Absolutely. You have to be able to, if you're running a business, I've ran one the last 11 years, done that myself. And I think a lot of people that get into a lot of these seats have never ran companies.
Right.
You've never been.
And they don't have military, there's a lot of them don't
Yeah.
have military, which I think is huge and important.
Absolutely.
Military and business owner, you know how to run things.
Yeah, you have to, if you've never, how many people do you think that are in an elected seat that have never actually been responsible for the well-being or making sure another family eats? If you don't get up and go to work, no, I'm not talking the military either. I'm talking if you started something, you created something, and now you have teammates, because I don't have employees. My mantra is never above you, never below you, always beside you. So I don't treat anybody like that. Right. So if you've never been responsible for getting up and making it happen so that the people around you or the people that are working with you can feed their families, I almost think you shouldn't be able to be handed such a large checkbook. It's almost our fault. Like you're asking somebody you're giving them so much money, such a big bank account, and asking them to manage it, and they've never managed anything where they were the final say-so. That is, that's a problem.
Well, a lot of the elected officials are just doing what their donors want them to do.
Yeah.
The big donors.
And that's the difference between a business and the government. The government is supposed to have its constituents' best interest in heart.
Right.
A business has its shareholders' best interest in heart. And I think a lot of people get into this, and it takes money to do these things. You know what I mean? I'm still raising money. I'm a grassroots candidate. So if anybody can donate to me, I'd appreciate it. But you know what I do when somebody donates? I'm starting the transparency already. I send them a picture. Hey, I tell them exactly what I'm raising this money for. And then I show them the proof that I did it. Do you know how many people have been thankful for that? Like, wow, he said he was raising this money for signs, and then he sent us a picture with the signs.
Cool, yeah.
You have to be able to be transparent. I think it should already start. If this is what I'm saying I'm going to do, why aren't you doing it yet? So you have to come correct. And people are tired of the fake. They're tired of, they can read through the lies. They can tell authenticity. You got to know what you're doing in this position. This is money. This is people's hard-earned money. And if you've never been in a position to manage something like that, and we're asking them to get ready. This term is only 2 years. So I'm asking you to come with no knowledge of ever running that big up, running that much money, handling that much money, to come in, learn everything that the position, and also dictate that.
Right.
That's irresponsible on voters.
Sure is. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Look how much, like, have you thought about how irresponsible, like, we're asking somebody that's never ran a company or, you know, never been the final say so in somebody's checkbook or making somebody share somebody else's seats.
Never even been to the Capitol building in Tallahassee.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
You got to do better. That's the person you want to represent you. You're trusting this person with your hard-earned money, and they've never done it before. That's crazy to me.
And they might have huge donors behind them. So where's the money really going to go? You know?
You never know. You never know.
That's true. Have you been to the Capitol building in
Absolutely.
Tallahassee?
Actually, you know, I did. I've been a couple times, but the best time was I went up with the local RECs, Escambia, Santa Rosa, Okaloosa, Walton. We all went up on a bus. They do it every year.
Yeah.
And it was a great opportunity, great experience. The bus ride was great. I encourage anybody that's never been, or if you want to go, make sure you reach out to the RECs. They did a great job. The Republican Executive Committees, for some that may not know.
Yeah.
And the bus ride was great. A lot of jokes, a lot of charades and games. And then, you know, once we got there, it was a jam-packed house. It was full that day. And to be able to get taken around to different legislators' offices and meet them and, you know, get that one-on-one time with them was amazing. It was fully worth it.
Yeah.
I actually was able to, even my daughter, like I said, she goes in school in Tallahassee. I was able to, hey, come over. And I was able to take her
that's
around.
awesome. Yeah.
Hey, the first time, you know, Dad's going in this capacity as a candidate, because I've been before, but going on in the capacity of a candidate, I want you to be there too.
Yeah.
You know what
that's
I mean?
awesome.
So I was glad that she got to see that and experience that. It meant a lot to me. It was a good dad-daughter moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah.
I love it. So did you get a tutorial on the elevators? Did you have to?
Yes, actually.
I had to figure that out myself.
Yeah.
My mom and I went.
Yeah.
And,
I take the stairs.
yeah.
I learned fast. I was like, and actually one of the elevators had
I
actually.
probably would have taken the stairs if I thought about it. I don't know why I didn't think about it.
I was like, I'm taking the stairs. A lot of the lines were long, and then the elevators are very confusing.
I know they are.
So I was like, you know what? I'm going to just take the stairs. So that worked out for us.
Yep.
Yep.
Absolutely. So, what you've talked about a lot about what you want to do for District 2, but what are your actual goals for District 2?
Absolutely. So my campaign it's very simple. You know, my first priority is children. We got to protect them, educate them, and advance them all the way through adulthood. You know, because if I died right now, or they would call my mom and say, hey, your child died. You're always somebody's child. You know, so protecting them all the way through adulthood. We have gotten away from, you know, it takes a community. And most people think, you know, that is just for, you know, until you get 18. And then you're off to your own.
Right.
But we need people. The mental health crisis that is happening in the world right now is crazy.
It really is.
People, we need each other. A lot of people are acting tough.
I think people have chemicals in their brains and it's doing stuff. And I think it's because of immunizations or maybe processed food.
Absolutely.
Maybe in the water, but there's somehow they're getting maybe lead or mercury, which causes.
Any of that is possible. You know, from the air we breathe in to the food we eat to the vaccines.
Yeah. And maybe drug use, you know, that definitely changes.
I mean, look at all the stuff that Governor DeSantis and his wife have identified in the food, the dyes.
Right.
You know, we got RFK up there doing a great job trying to remove the dyes. Like all this stuff has been.
I love the Maha movement.
Has been connected
part
to,
of it.
You know, these things that have happened that are happening to our bodies. You know what I mean? So I'm glad to see the big health push. You know, especially somebody that understands health conditions.
Right.
You know, I developed ulcerative colitis from burn pit exposure.
Oh, wow.
Being in Afghanistan and Iraq.
Right.
So I'm serving my country. Not only am I worried about getting shot at, but I was never thinking about the air that I was breathing in.
Sure.
You know, so I understand the effects of what around you can cause you medical issues.
Right.
And that should
Environment.
It should not happen here at home.
Yeah.
It should not happen here at home.
Right.
You know, so I believe we need to do better at that.
Thank you for that. What's the most important thing you'd want to change?
And you know what, just to go back, I really want to, you know, that was just my first pillar in the campaign was children, but the second one is unemployment and underemployment. So unemployment, obviously everyone knows what that is. Underemployment is people that have degrees, technical certifications, and they're getting paid less than what they deserve. So bringing in the right companies to give people real opportunities. My third pillar is, law enforcement, first responders, veterans. I've dedicated my life, the last 11 years to my life, in this company to veterans and first responders. That's mostly who we hire. So I wanted to dedicate that time to my brothers and sisters, to give them opportunity. And then my last pillar is agriculture, water. We need water and agriculture,
right?
Infrastructure. You know what I mean? All those things.
And we need agricultural land. And I think what's happening in a lot of Florida is people are inheriting the agricultural land, but they're not farmers.
Yeah.
And they want to sell that land,
but
it's not worth as much because it's agricultural land.
Yeah.
Well, they shouldn't be able to sell it because it's zoned agriculture. And if they want to sell it to somebody who's willing to farm it and keep it agriculture.
We need it.
But it's not our fault that they inherited agricultural land and it's worth a certain amount.
Yeah.
They should not be able to sell it as if it's like prime property in, Miami Beach.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. It's because we need that land. We need certain land, and we don't need solar farms.
Yeah, we definitely do.
To replace crops.
Yeah.
We need crops.
I try not to. If you inherit some land and you want to sell it, so be it.
But it's zoned a certain way.
Yeah.
And your ancestor bought it at a very low price. I'm sure, next to nothing, maybe $1 an acre. What they're wanting to do is sell it at prime development price. Yeah. It's not zoned that. You didn't inherit that. Your ancestor didn't buy it at that. This is what you have.
Yeah. I would ask that they just give it first right of refusal. Like, hey, listen, if you own that, if your property is zoned for that, at least try to keep it that.
Yeah.
And if it's not working out, you're not being able to, hey, it's been on the market for 2 years. I've been trying to sell it as a farm. I've been trying to get something on it. No one's willing to buy it. My family needs this money. I understand. Everybody needs money.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So if that comes to that and you have to make a decision for your family, who am I to tell you not to do whatever you have to do to be able to get it done?
Right.
But I ask that you first do try to preserve, agricultural land for what it is.
Yeah.
Not get it rezoned.
That's what it always was. It's what your ancestor bought it as. It's what you inherited it as.
Yeah.
And that's what it's worth. It's like if I inherited my grandmother's cubic zirconias.
Yeah.
But I want to sell them as 18 karat gold and diamonds.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I understand. Yeah.
I inherited what I inherited, and I inherited at its value.
Yeah.
What it's worth.
True.
You can't turn it around and make it something else, and that's exactly what they're doing. And they're clear cutting Florida, and they're paving over it with tract homes and strip malls and roads and highways. And not only is it causing devastation to ecosystems and wild natural habitats, but it's causing flooding.
Yeah.
It's causing flooding because there's no ground saturation.
Yeah.
Where there used to be forest land or crops is now paved over. There's no ground saturation, and all of that water, when it rains, it flows south. Because it flows downhill.
I think you're speaking, something. So I remember going out on Palafox, and the floodwaters, and the guys were telling me what they were doing out there, guys and gals, as they were doing the construction on it. And I spoke with some of the water guys that were out there because they just were men at that time. And, they said, I asked them hey, what's something that you would like to see? And they said, Trey, we need training up here. We always have to go down south, and, a lot of us can't miss work. A lot of us can't go. We need training up here, So I think there's a lot of different industries that we need to make sure that the training opportunities are here for them, and they don't have to go somewhere else and get them. Let's we have the minds here. There's some retirees. We have some great minds here.
Absolutely.
Let's give them an opportunity, and let's give the people that are trying to get into that workforce an opportunity to learn something. Pass those lessons down. It's important.
What about mental health, drug use, homelessness? What are your thoughts on? Do those three things kind of go together sometimes?
Yeah, actually I've visited a majority of the nonprofits out here, and, I've talked to a lot of them, and, so many of them have different resources. And what they'll tell me is, hey, we're kind of I've realized they're all kind of siloed. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of resources here, We need to be able to bring them together. You know, one of the things I'd ask a lot of them, I was like, has anybody ever put this together, like created a progression chart?
Yeah.
You know, and that's one thing that I'm building. I stopped just saying, hey, these are my platforms and the things that I'm running on. I've already begun doing the work to create the programs and the flows to be able to show people like, hey, this can be changed and we have the resources. Let's look what we got.
Right.
We don't need a lot of new laws. There's already stuff here. We just need to go look at what it is. We need to revamp it, see what makes sense, see what doesn't make sense, and connect some dots for people. You know what I mean?
I think that when people are legitimately homeless because they lost their job, they're not doing drugs, they're trying to do what they're supposed to do. They just fell on hard times.
Definitely.
Maybe there was a death in the family or an illness, or a tragedy like a hurricane or a house fire. That there are legitimate reasons for that people are homeless, or maybe somebody is on drugs, wants to get off drugs, you know, and wants to do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
If you look at Gulf Breeze, for example, you never see a homeless person over there. But you also don't see the programs that help them. I think some of the programs here in Pensacola attract homeless people from other areas. And I actually spoke to someone just the other day who said that she saw a bus coming from a different state, I don't know, Alabama or Georgia, Mississippi, one of those places, rounded up their homeless people and brought them here to Escambia County because we have the programs.
It happens.
And the homeless reduction task force that they started is actually, they need to change the name because it's very misleading. It's a homeless perpetuation task force. They're not reducing homelessness. They're bringing people in from other areas. They're bringing homeless people in. It's a perpetual thing. And it's a business for them because that's another waste, fraud, and abuse thing. Because they're getting, you know, grants and tax dollars and federal money that they really should be getting.
Yeah, I think that...
Because we don't want homeless people attracted to Escambia County.
Yeah.
We want them... we want to help the ones that are legitimate.
Yeah, of course.
But we don't want to bring the drug addicts and the people who need mental help brought into this community.
I think that, you know, the organizations out here, they do a great, for the majority of them, they do a great job. I've been, you know, like I said, I went to a lot of nonprofits, opening doors, so forth and so on. And, you know, Waterfront Mission, you got a lot of good nonprofits out there that are doing a lot of work. And, you know, I went to they got a new director at Opening Doors, and during his, he was unleashing his plan for the future. And some of the statistics that he showed for the month of January, how many, you know, emergency calls, I think it was 1 million. And then like how many evictions was it? It was, I think 25,000 or something like that. Like there was 156 students that were homeless. There's people living in a home and are homeless, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So we got a lot of work here to do. And I think if we can just put these things together, we could do a lot. You know, I want to sit down with all the nonprofits and, you know, hey, bring your decision makers and your executive directors and let's talk. You know, I don't think they need to have that. A couple people have asked me when I've told them I was going to do that, they're like, we really need that because everybody doesn't know all the resources that everybody else has.
Yeah. And
there could be overlap. So we need to come together.
And I think that people do need help, and I'm all for helping people. But I'm Florida first. I really don't want them bringing in from other states.
Yeah, we got to protect them. We got to take care of our own, you know, and we ask everybody else to take care of their own. And if everybody does that, everybody should be taken care of.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, so what I gather from you is you are genuine and sincere, and everything that you say and everything that you do is from your heart.
Absolutely.
And it's because of probably your background. I'm sure your parents raised you well, and then your military experience and your education. You're highly educated. Yeah. And you're a business owner. Yeah. And you have provided jobs for hundreds of people, which says a lot. Your military experience, your doctorate degree, that's it. I mean, you're already at the top. Yeah. Business owner, providing jobs. It's all from the heart. Like you are genuinely sincere about helping people.
Yes.
And I think that's what we need in this position. I mean, how better qualified can you be?
I have because of my position, I've been in ICU before on death's door, and I know that the phone stops ringing. I know that people stop calling. I know that a lot of the people that people think so highly of, they're not coming to the funeral. Mm-hmm. They're not. You gotta make sure you are taking care of people. You gotta give, and you gotta do it willingly. I'm a PK, I'm a preacher's kid. I was raised at the church.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So that's where a lot of that shines through, and I'm thankful for my upbringing. A little strict, but I'm thankful for my upbringing. My parents raised me right, and they gave me everything, a good mix of everything, good things and bad things that I learned. Mm-hmm. And we need more people to care about the community. We need more people to stay Florida first. Mm-hmm. We need people to also stay District 2 first.
Absolutely.
We need to put ego aside. We need to put money. We need to just become a community. Everyone here is important. Mm-hmm. We got to make sure we're doing the right thing by the people. Mm-hmm. And if we can do that, people will be happy. Mostly people just want to be informed. They have no idea. Mm-hmm. No idea. And I remember being on the other side of being a candidate. I had no idea either. Mm-hmm. So that lets me know that, hey, there needs to be a better flow, a process of information, mm-hmm. of people, where my dollars are being spent, what's going on. You need to show up early and often. You got to get out there and touch your community. Mm-hmm. And that's what I've chosen to do, and that's what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. I've been everywhere that I can. I've spoken everywhere that I can. And we're knocking on doors. We're getting after it. I will not give up. I will not, because the people deserve it. They deserve it. So absolutely. I'm looking to give them what they deserve, and I just hope that they see that. So I appreciate you for being able to see that in me, because that's what I'm giving.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you. It was a great conversation. I learned a lot about you.
Yes.
That I appreciate, and it's all good information. So thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. So the Thornton Review is on the air to provide public service awareness and intellectual infrastructure to our community. This show was made possible by Larry Downs Jr. Plumbing, Ida Gates Godly Teas LLC, Alpha Fence Company, and our guest, Dr. Trei McMullen, Florida State House candidate for District 2. And we want to thank you for watching this episode of the Thornton Review. Bye-bye.